Good afternoon, Professor Isabel. I hope you are doing well together with your family. So I'm going to present you the main conclusions of my research on bilingualism and on the 4 case studies. So the purpose of the present work is to explore bilingual language acquisition in the kids of the 4 different families from Europe, Latin America, and Asia in the context of developments and implications in cognitive, linguistic, cultural, and social fields. The theoretical frameworks are basically the unitary language system hypothesis developed by Voltaire and Tauschner in 1978 and the dual language system hypothesis with the authors Genesi and Nicolaides and their study written in 2006. Other authors are Esparza, Diaz, and Bennett Martinez, especially for analyzing the cultural identity as an essential characteristic of bilingualism. So the starting point of the present research is an inquiring generative question. I'm going to read it. Is the early acquisition of bilingualism producing more positive or negative effects in the bilingual child education? And are the benefits of early acquisition of bilingualism worth the cost in the interviewed families? So based on the undertaken research and the analysis of the findings, I would say that my answer is yes, but it is a prudent yes. In fact, the early acquisition of bilingualism produces more positive than negative effects in the bilingual child's overall growth and education in a number of areas, such as linguistic, cognitive, sociocultural, and psychological. So let's dig deeper in each of these areas. In the linguistic field, I have found that for bilingual focused children have an increased verbal intelligence. Their lexical and syntactic development is increased by their bilingual advantage, and they have a greater predisposition for future language learning and an ability to communicate in diverse contexts. From the psychological perspective, they have a better understanding of other people's needs and increased tolerance and resilience. From the cognitive point of view, they have a greater mental flexibility, cognitive ability, and an increased awareness of the context and the inputs. And from the social-cultural perspective, they have a higher bicultural competence, a great intercultural awareness, and they are potentially keen to develop cross-cultural skills together with better study opportunities and life chances. Other findings are linked to the socioeconomic status of the families. In fact, the benefits of early acquisition of bilingualism are worth the cost. And the early acquisition of bilingualism does produce a beneficial impact on the wider family, specifically if we refer to families with a higher socioeconomic status and with skilled parents who have stable professional careers, as in the explored 4 case studies. This reminds me of the so-called bilingual advantage, which is outlined by some authors, Portes and Medveda, in 2017. This advantage is also acknowledged in the studied families, and it refers to the valuable language-related human capital which is brought by the expats or the immigrants in the host-receiving countries. This bilingual advantage can positively affect the economic growth, the knowledge and the skills of the networks in the host-receiving countries. So, different social, cultural, education, psychological factors affect the early acquisition of bilingualism. It seems to be a holistic process where each component is inevitably interconnected with the other one in an integrated manner. Basically, I have found that there are 3 key factors that shape the bilingual acquisition process in the 4 case studies. The first one is the agency of the child. So how much he is proactive is mental flexibility, is personality, motivation, is cognitive and verbal intelligence. The second factor is the exposure to the language and the context, including the parental discourse strategies, their attitudes, and their socioeconomic status. And the third factor is the interplay between culture and language. So the so-called bicultural identity integration, a concept which is outlined by the author Bennett and Martinez, and the bond with the maternal cultural identity. In fact, another interesting finding is that the mother plays a crucial role in shaping the emotional and sentimental education of the focus child. As a consequence, the child will keep the bond with the maternal cultural identity, and in the next future, the bilingual kid might choose to express his feelings better in the mother's native language. Another interesting finding is that the growth of vocabulary size, lexicon, and syntax of the two language systems are centrally connected to the stronger frequency and context of exposure. And the influence of the dominant language, which is spoken outside the home, in the wider community, in the school system, or in the society, strongly affects the early acquisition of bilingualism. So the main conclusions are that the bilingual language early acquisition is an holistic and multifaceted process affected by multiple factors such as motivation, attitude, age, intelligence, cognitive style, personality, culture of the parents, culture of the wider community, and socioeconomic status of the family. Since it is a complex phenomenon, it deserves further investigation and public awareness in the current 21st century society, especially from the sociolinguistic and sociodemographic perspective. And the main areas which deserve further research and attention are the following ones. The complex interplay among identity, language, personality, and context in managing the multicultural and multilingual experience. The language dynamics that take place in the relationship between the majority and the minority language in foreign context. Number three, childhood bilingual development and the issue of language mixing. And fourth, the parental attitudes and discourse strategies which can positively or negatively affect the child's bilingual acquisition process. So I hope you will enjoy reading my research. It has been really interesting, and the families as well are really grateful. And so I look forward to receive your feedback. Bye, and greetings from Italy.